Tonight on Video Game Tango, we've played a bunch of demos on Steam as part of Steam's Next Fest, and Final Fantasy VII turned 25 and announced Final Fantasy Crisis Reunion Forever Core 7 Remake Rebirth Afterbirth, and also reminded us that we are getting old and gonna die someday.
Nick here reporting in that turnt is an adjective in formal US, under the influence of alcohol or drugs, as in, I got really turned up and left with some amazing indie games.
Hi, I'm Josh from the 35th Remake, Afterbirth, Rebirth, Conclusion, Reconclusion.
Hi, I'm Syrah. Lay off my booty oogles.
We're going to go with it. I'm Andy. This is Video Game Tango. Make sure you check out videogametango.com for all the resources we talk about in this episode of Video Game Tango. Let's get started. It's another week, and we played some video games.
I can see colors. I'm very lightheaded.
I hope you can see colors.
I unconsciously hold my breath for noise floor.
I know. I watch you do it every time. You like back up
so
way far from the
We're talking
microphone.
about
The problem
games
is
we're
I held my
playing.
breath that
We play
time
games?
after I had exhaled.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should do the first thing or the other thing.
We're live.
What? Yeah.
I know.
What are we? What?
What?
Yeah, multiple conversations.
Yeah.
Hey! Welcome to the VGTPC. Those all rhyme. I love it.
XYZ?
Alliteration in letter form.
We played
All the
all of
games.
the indie games.
That's not true.
Not at all.
No, I'm
But-
really sad about that, actually.
We did jump on Steam Next Fest, as we promised, and we played a few each of demos. And we've got those and our opinions on them ready for you. Steam Next Fest, for anybody that's just tuning in and didn't watch last week, it is a demo showcase for indie games on Steam. Goes a week long. It went from last Monday to this most recent Monday.
And if you missed it, you missed out.
Yeah, it's true.
There was
You
some
missed it,
gems
you missed out.
in the rough.
Yeah,
Yes,
I did miss
there was
it.
some rough, but there were a lot of gems. That said, why don't we jump right into it? The first one I played is one that I talked about quite a bit in the last couple weeks after watching it, I believe on
Backdoors, slots number 9.
OTK's Game Fest. It's There Is No Light.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Now, it was a little bit confusing because from all the trailers and the announcements that I saw, it was called There Is No Light. On Steam, it's called There's No Light. But when it's in your game library, it says There Is No Light. So I was a little bit confused.
Contractions.
I'm not sure whether I'm going to call it There's No Light or There Is No Light, but most of the time it's called There Is No Light.
I feel like you're contractually obligated to make a decision.
There is.
That was amazing. Fuck you. Contractually obligated?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I played this one, and I enjoyed what I played. It did have issues. I think so. It's more narratively driven than I thought it was going to be based on what we've seen in gameplay footage. Because really, they don't showcase any of the narrative piece. But it was a very narrative driven game, at least in the demo that I
So
played.
similar to Hades in that regard?
Yes, but with less combat than Hades in the beginning. Yeah.
Okay.
So it didn't really give so much of like a tutorial for combat or anything like that. It just kind of drops you in, gives you a cutscene. You learn very quickly what's going on, and then it gives you a little bit of a combat tutorial, and then it kind of just throws you into to a narrative plot. I didn't get terribly far. I'm not sure when the demo ended. I didn't finish the demo, and that's because I didn't find the beginning's narrative to be enough for me to replay. And the reason I would have had to replay is because about 25, 30 minutes into this demo, one of the things you had to do was talk to all of the local NPCs after a big reveal. And in talking to these NPCs, these townspeople, and looking for them, I ended up getting trapped behind a group of NPCs that was close to a wall, and I was unable to get out. So a bug occurred while I was talking to an NPC. I got shifted behind another one, and I couldn't escape. So
Knowing that it's a demo, you're like, okay.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
So I will say that the gameplay that I did get to do, like the combat, felt pretty good. It's definitely like there is a solid, what seems to be combat upgrade system, like an RPG style combat upgrade system. It looked good. From what I could see, I already had a build that I would have preferred. I'm not sure that the demo gets to that point in the game where you start, learning your combos and getting new skills and that kind of thing. But it is a very pretty pixel art experience. It is very gory and graphic. I wouldn't say that the narrative was lacking. I think I wasn't in the headspace for the narrative, because what I wanted to do is I wanted to sit down and play a hack and slash. Yeah. And when it didn't deliver that right away, I was a little bit turned off. So I have to say, my review of it is a little skewed in that I wasn't in the right headspace to receive the narrative, and I wasn't feeling it. So it is something that I'd like to go back and play. I will probably be picking it up, because if the combat is any indicator of what is to come in the gameplay, I think I'll like it.
I think a good litmus test here, would you pay money to buy the full game?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this brings up a point. You're talking about issues with the demo on like a meta level that I do want to talk about a little bit later. But before I dive into that, I do have a handful of demos. Out of the roughly 20 I played, I've picked 5 that I felt were worth talking about. Of the rest, they weren't necessarily bad. It's that they were either... I had problems with them, they didn't run well, they were too rote, or they didn't do anything new enough for me to feel like they warranted time on the cast. Of note, off the bat, in no particular order, I have Ragtag Crew, which I've dubbed Gordian Quest meets Mad Max. So it is a roguelite, turn-based combat kind of deck builder. It fits in that same niche that a lot of indie games have fit. But the whole theme is this kind of Mad Max-y post-apocalyptic vibe, where you choose a different selection of heroes, and then you have to survive to the end of a path, very similar to Slay the Spire. Okay. What I did like about it is it was tough. Every battle grades you on your performance based on how much damage you took, and even trying hard, I managed to get an A few times, but the majority of my rounds were C. And by the end of the runs, I played 3 runs. I barely survived.
Okay.
There's a nice kind of middle ground of skill checks a la D&D, as well as combat. So your character's stats were both important for combat as well as like social abilities. Your characters can become friends or enemies, which increases or reduces their morale or changes random events, which was really neat. At one point, I had a character that loved another that hated that person back, which was really interesting. But what I really liked about it is something you don't see often. You have the opportunity to just run from fights. Okay. In one of my runs, I got to the end of the demo, fought the boss, and I was in no way, shape, or form capable of beating it, and I was able to run away. Of course, that influences your score at the end. But it was nice because it managed to find a difficulty that was fun. There's a lot of types of difficulty, and it's rare to find a difficulty in this genre that finds that perfect balance of, I feel I deserved to do that poorly. Yeah. You know, like I made mistakes, and sometimes you don't make mistakes and you are still punished, and that feels like a problem on the game's end. Yeah. But it was really finely tuned in that regard. None of the characters felt really overpowered. Of course, you get to level up their skills and level up their abilities. You go to shop and you can buy artifacts, aka Slay the Spire. So not a lot of new in the gameplay realm, but it was nice to have a mix of combat as well as social checks, as well as that rare to find good balance of difficulty where I had no idea if I was going to be able to finish a run or not. Yeah. But overall, if you've played Gordian Quest, if you've played Darkest Dungeons, I get it confused with the 5e homebrew. It's very similar. Yeah, it's got a really nice kind of post-apocalyptic Wild West feel.
Yeah, the art's great.
I like the art, and by the sounds of it, they do a couple of things fairly well.
Yeah, these kind of games are not uncommon. So for it to be, you know, I'm not tooting my own horn here, but I played 4 other demos in a similar genre, and this is the one that I felt like talking about. So I would probably be willing to pay money for this to experience a full game if the map was longer. Every run was about an hour. And for me personally, once I feel like I have a good understanding of how a system works in a game, I kind of lose interest in it. Mm-hmm. So something like Gordian Quest, which is a very similar game, but more fantasy oriented, those runs can be multiple hours. Sure. And that allowed for a lot more draw. So I don't know if the final runtime of these full missions is going to be similar to the demo or not. Do
you think this would cater better to like the person that just wants to pick up and play?
Yes and no. I mean, anybody who enjoys the turn-based roguelite kind of, I wouldn't call it a deck builder. I don't know really what genre this is called, but whatever genre Slay the Spire, Gordian Quest, Dark's Dungeons is in, it's in that genre. I don't know if it does enough new to really be screaming about it into the void, but what it does do well. So I'll give it that.
Okay.
A solid B+, A- in my book.
Worth a purchase. Josh, you had a game you played as well.
I did. I played Turbo Golf Racing.
Yeah, I really wanted to give that a shot. Didn't have time to.
Yeah, it was really fun. So, I mean, it has a lot of that Rocket League kind of feel. So you're racing your ball along the hole. It's counting your hits, but you get these, I mean, a lot of the cars, again, similar to Rocket League, power-ups, add-ons. There was only 1 or 2 maps. I played a few times, but I was kind of falling into an Apex hole all weekend. So I played a few times. I want to play this game. I would give it a full purchase. I also looked in on the Twitch for a little while, and I watched some other people play, and I watched the creator, one of the devs, talk about it and what they hope to do with the game, and they seem like they're having fun making it, which
it's always a good sign.
It's always a good sign. He was excited to talk about it. He was excited to have people asking him about the game he was working on.
Can you accidentally hit somebody else's ball?
I don't think so. I think it's just your ball.
I mean, you can see their balls.
You can see their ball, but I don't think you can.
Could you just go screw somebody's shot up?
I'm sure that'll be a thing. I don't think it really was in the demo, but
that leads me to the question that I immediately had: how much do you feel like you can interrupt other players playing? Like, because to me, this seems like it falls in a weird balance of it could almost be a single player game, but if you can really like futz with other people's stuff,
it felt like a golf with friends and a Rocket League bit of a clone.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, I only played for a little bit, but it was pretty fun. I had a good time.
Okay.
Do they have? I don't know if it would have been in the demo, but do they have a mode where you can invite friends to play with you?
I tried getting on when I played. It was my homie was already in bed. I really only had the one homie, so I didn't actually look into playing with anybody.
You had a Rocket League guy.
Yeah, my homie Wonka. He's in the chat often.
Yeah. Do we have a release date for that? Something we could look back into?
August 4th.
August 4th, not too far away.
I was going to say, it was pretty soon.
Okay.
And they had a bunch of stuff, like a bunch of extra maps and season stuff releasing in 2023 when I was watching the Twitch.
Okay.
Right on.
Yeah.
I unfortunately, on the other hand, did not have time to play any of the demos, and the more I talk about it and the more I think about it, the more upset I am about it. So,
life got in the way.
Kids. What I did find is my sweet little niche of cozy sweet games. This is another farm sim. It's set on a cozy tropical island in which you get to restore coral reefs. You can build up your community with community projects. There's 40 unique islanders with opportunity to grow relationships and have babies. Yeah, you get to build your farm, your home, and your character. Yeah, reef babies. It's inspired by the classics. It is developed by Stairway. The release date is to be determined, but it will be available on Steam.
And this is Coral Island?
Coral Island, yeah.
Okay.
Looks super cute, right in my niche.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, anything to teach people about our fucking coral reefs. Because they got traps.
Yeah, you got to go down there and clean them up, fix them up. And there's a swing side of that, too. There's like caverns and stuff on the island that you get to go into to harvest gems and stuff. And there's monsters to fight in there.
Okay.
Do you guys know Florida has a coral reef?
What?
I found this out the other day. It's a massive coral reef around Florida.
I did, yes. But
it's
is it
balcony time talk.
Yeah, but it's as far as I know, it's mostly dead.
It's getting there.
Yeah.
There's a whole video on it, but
yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Looks like there's some fun customizable options.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it seems neat. It seems neat. Very, very you.
Cozy niche.
More cozy games.
More cozy games.
I played a very uncomfortable game. by the name of
Slots number 9.
by the name of Rotato.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this looks awesome.
We talked quite a bit about survival hells and the Vampire Survivor clones.
I
This is
specifically
certainly
avoided
one of them.
all the survival hell demos, thinking that you would play them.
Yeah. I played this one specifically because it's been talked about quite a bit when we were discussing the genre and trying to come up with the genre of survival hell for Vampire Survivor likes. Rotato was mentioned a lot. It was fine. I wouldn't say that it delivered on the survival hell standard for me, set by the awesome gameplay loop that is Vampire Survivors. But it is kind of a cute, fun, like really pick up game and like spend 15 minutes to play. Now, the issue that I had with it is that you can see on screen if you're watching. If you're not, I'll describe. When you pick up a weapon, you get the weapon. If you pick up another version of that weapon, rather than powering it up, which is what we're kind of understanding the survival hell genre to be, it doesn't power your weapon up. Instead, you get another one of them. So say you pick up a pistol or a shotgun, and then you pick up another pistol or a shotgun. You're just getting 2 of them. So you're getting twice the aggression of that weapon rather than like a power up or, and something that unlocks later on. One neat design thing that they chose to do was that you can trade your weapons in later for credits back to purchase other ones. So you do get more customization and less randomization on any given map than you do with something like Vampire Survivors. So that does make it different. So if the RNG of Vampire Survivors just isn't for you, then you might want to give Rotato a try.
I feel like if we're going to get that niche, you should let them know that you can upgrade the weapons. If you combine the weapons, they increase in rarity and they have better stats.
Oh, okay. I found myself to be fucking terrible at this game.
Oh,
yeah, and I didn't make it that far
yet. But since you mentioned it, I thought it was worth watching. I've watched a few Let's Plays of it, and so when you get the opportunity to get new weapons after a given level, if you get 2 of the same, you can combine them to get the next rarity up. I see. It has better stats.
Okay, does that open up a weapon slot so you can put another weapon in that
exactly.
spot? Okay.
So you can have up to 6 weapons and you can slowly upgrade them. So, yeah, I mean, after what we talked a little bit about it, I'm not sure if this does really anything new enough to warrant like you need to go get this game right now. Yeah. Right? Because Vampire Survivors is $3 and it's a fucking fantastic survival hell. Yeah, I don't want to take over for you, but
no,
please point that out.
No, that's fantastic. That upgrades the gameplay loop for me.
Yeah.
I like that aspect.
Oh, sorry, Sarah.
No, the art style, I was just going to say, reminds me of a cutesy salad fingers.
Yes, it's very Binding of Isaac.
Binding of Isaac, yeah.
Very similar, heavy inking and whatnot. But no, I recently watched a guy did a stick run, a primitive run. He had a character that plus 6 damage for every stick you have. And that starts to exponentially scale. You have 6 sticks, they're all doing 30 extra damage.
Right.
But yeah, they go through the gray, blue, purple rarity, right?
Okay.
So it's got all the kind of fundamentals of a survival hell. I don't really know if it doesn't do anything new, which isn't a problem. Because it seems pretty solid, but there's now a glut of these games. Yeah. So
no, the game was absolutely fine. I'd say if you're into the genre, definitely give it a try. The demo for the game is still available, and I believe it actually just came out. So don't take my word for it, but at least the demo is still available. I was still able to play it later. And while it was fun,
like
all the fists.
Yeah, on the for people who can't see. Yeah, like one of the weapons, just a bunch of fists. It's fun.
Yeah. So while I found it fun, I have more fun playing Vampire Survivors. If we're going to talk about games in the same genre, it didn't do anything new enough for me to pull my time away from Vampire Survivors.
I think at this point, there's one thing that should be mentioned when it comes to these games. It's how long a run takes.
Yes.
From what I can see from the YouTube Let's Plays I've seen of this, there's 12 levels and they're each 60 seconds long.
They are 60 seconds long, yes.
Plus the meta time of leveling up and choosing items, you're looking at a 20-minute run, whereas something like Vampire Survivors, half an hour.
It times out at a half hour,
Yeah. I mean, if that really makes a difference to you, 20 versus 30 minutes, let it be known that that's there.
For sure.
So,
yeah, I mean, shit.
Next on my list, I played this and immediately knew both you, Andy, and you, Sierra, this is dangerous. This game is Roots of Pacha is my next game, Pacha. It is Stardew Valley in 10,000 BC. Oh, wow. I got 30 minutes into it before I had to stop because I knew I was going to get sucked into it. But it is full-on Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley, however you want to describe it, but you are cavemen. Your tribe has recently fled because your shaman had a vision, and you have to start a new life.
My God, look at it.
Not only are you growing roots and vegetables and herbs like you do in Stardew Valley, but you have to tame animals to learn animal husbandry. Your other cavemen friends have ideas that if you fulfill them, you get new technologies. It's
cute.
The more I played it, I'm like, there's going to be a lot to this game. Because even the demo, I was an hour in and I had barely started. I had no idea how long the demo goes for. But for those able to view the screen, you know, you've got mounts, you've got caves, you can turn into different animals. There's puzzles. It is very, very much in that Stardew Valley.
Tell me it's ready now.
I don't know the release date off the top of my head. Let me pull it up here. It looks like it is coming out sometime this year, so in the next 6 months.
Okay.
And you can play with friends.
Oh
the
my
demo
gosh.
is still available. I just pulled up the Steam page. But no, it's cute. There's a little mini game I tried taming some ibex, which are a precursor to goats, essentially. You can, I'm sure have relations and make friends with all the different cavemen.
And babies.
And babies.
Probably. I don't know. But yeah, it's these people clearly, if you look at what they talk about, they're very much inspired by Stardew Valley and whatnot. And they wanted to make their own game in the same genre.
Yeah.
I made a very caveman looking guy named Glunk. I didn't fit in at all. I thought I might have with the name Glunk. But yeah, it shows them learning irrigation and having all these different things and learning new technologies. And the moment I played it, I'm like,
Did he just make a bronze axe?
he does. Yeah.
Look at all this.
So yeah, every little side thing you can think of Stardew Valley has
So
is
good.
similar. It's just your fucking cavemen. So yeah, if this is your jam, I would definitely recommend checking this out. If this was my jam, I would buy it in a heartbeat just from the hour or so gameplay I saw.
Honestly, it's not my jam, and it looks fun enough. I might, if the price is right, I might pop on that. It looks like it'd be fun to play.
Yeah, I don't see a price on the Steam page. I can't imagine it's going to be more than $30-40. And at that price point, you're easily looking at, how many hours have you put into Stardew? 1,000?
About 1,000, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how much content there is yet. Of course, I've just played the demo, but it definitely showed polish even in the demo. No bugs, everything. There's lots of systems open available to mess around with, lots of little side quests available. Those little goats I tamed. You play a little flute and you have a little mini game to make them happy.
Aww.
It was very fun. But yeah, Roots of Pacha, Pacha. If you like that genre of farming friendly, cozy sim, this is right up your alley.
And just remember that we're going to have gameplay trailers, the theatrical trailers, and links to their Steam pages up on Video Game Tango. Check the blog for this week's podcast notes, and I'll have all that information posted for you there. Next on my list, I played a game called Teranil. So I didn't read the description or anything for this. I just saw that it had popped up to number 1 on the list for Steam Next Fest, meaning that it was a massively downloaded game. It's out now, but there was a demo available. And what I didn't know about this going into it, because I hadn't seen anything about it really at all, was that it was a puzzle game.
Yeah. It doesn't look like it at first, does it? It
definitely doesn't look like it at first. So what I understood from just the title and the brief description that I saw is that it didn't mention puzzle game at all, but it said that you're going to a planet that is uninhabitable, and your job is to terraform it. You get buildings, kind of like an RTS that you can make that cost resources. You have a finite number of resources to start when the game starts. Your job is to power the area, then to potentially irrigate it, propagate it, sometimes burn it, because sometimes you can only put down buildings in places that are full of ash and are ready for new growth. fill up the waterways, any that are on the map by default. You can dig new waterways, but you have to do it in such a way that you are going to fill the map in a tile-based map. Excuse me. In a tile-based map, and you are supposed to fill as many tiles as you can in order to complete a level.
It's kind of like a painting puzzle. You have a canvas, and your goal is to be most efficient as possible with your greenification of that canvas.
That's pretty cool. That seems pretty unique.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pretty fresh.
Do you start with the same resources every time?
It depends on the level.
Yeah. So only one level was available for the demo. So I assume that they're going to vary the amount of resources that you start out with, depending on the size of the map, I would assume.
I was just curious if they'd be randomized to, you're not necessarily guaranteed, even if you do things right, to be successful.
I'm trying to remember. I watched a few of my indie YouTubers play this a handful of months ago, and I remember that the levels might have had different goals, like create enough B fields in this level, or make sure you get enough tiles in this particular level. So as you're playing you think of it as a turn-based game, you get paid. You essentially get a resource for creating greenery. Yeah. And you can use that money to unlock new buildings, which means you can either create a bee field or create trees or even the ability to burn things. Certain plants need to propagate through burning.
You can see if you're watching on screen that you see all these leaves flying out towards something. That's going into your resource pile. That's your currency. Yeah. And the interesting thing is I was getting towards the end of the game, or at least the end of the map. And the end of the map, which is subsequently also the end of the demo, your goal at the end of it, so first of all, you have to terraform it. You have to manage your resources in order to do so. But at the end of the game, you have to leave nothing. So all of your buildings must be removed. And you have to do that in pretty clever ways. Like, you can't remove this building unless you have another building powering it, or you can't remove this building because you don't have anything within an adjacent tile.
Human footprint from the new nature you've made.
Thus the name Teranil. So you're supposed to terraform this planet without leaving any evidence behind. So that adds to the puzzle nature of the game.
That is an interesting twist.
Yeah. So the funny thing is I did run into a game, or not a game-breaking bug, but a bug in the game. Where the game told me that I did not have enough resources to continue, and I had lost the level.
Uh-oh.
I knew better though, and I said okay, and it allowed me to keep playing, and then I finished the level. I had like 2 more moves to finish the level.
Can you like accidentally undo all the pretty things that you've done by trying to destroy your buildings?
Well, no, not by destroying your buildings, but you can So there are buildings that actually destroy the landscape that you've created in order to create ash. Gotcha. So you make an ash forest. And that seems like it burns out randomly because it didn't follow the path of the squares that it put down in the tiles surrounding the building. So I imagine you could potentially ruin something. That didn't happen to me. Mine worked out swimmingly. Because I did finish the map on the first try. So I would assume that you possibly can. There might be consequences to the way you build, yeah. But an interesting game. Yeah. I was really thrown a curveball when I tried it because I was like, oh, this is straight up a puzzle game.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting that, and did really enjoy the first level of the game. I don't know if this is necessarily for me. But I think it's a very well-made game.
Personally, I have a very tumultuous history with puzzle games. I find that the difficulty of a puzzle game must be balanced on a knife's edge for me to enjoy it.
For sure.
Because way too often it's either too easy or too frustrating, right?
Yeah,
and to find something in the middle, like when you combine that with the fact that I enjoy learning a new system, puzzle games very quickly become known. Like all the quantities are known, therefore 5-10 levels in, I'm like, okay, I don't feel like I'm getting much more out of the game. Sure. That's a very personal thing though. Yeah. From what I've seen of it, this is a very well done puzzle game.
Yes.
I've maybe watched 4 or 5 hours of it back in the day.
And I get you, that the difficulty curve can be very frustrating in a puzzle game. Like, for instance, Portal. There are levels that I don't like to play in Portal. For as good and as brilliant of a game series that Portal is, there are levels that I don't particularly care for. So, I mean,
I don't really like puzzle games. I don't mind if puzzles are in my games, but I don't really like puzzle games. But this looks fun. Yeah. There's a whole, like, the whole RTS kind of a feel to it, and plus you get to make nature. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
This looks fun.
It's pretty cool. I think
I like the twist
great.
that it's a puzzle game, because it almost
beautiful.
it's like it tricks you into playing a puzzle game.
That's exactly what happened to me. I got tricked into playing a puzzle game, but I did enjoy my my one level experience in the demo.
I think my next game is almost completely opposite.
Okay.
I mean, maybe not, right? But I do want to bring up Angerfoot. I tried to think of a pun.
Yes.
But I couldn't think of it. Angerfoot was a fucking experience. So what came to immediate mind was Hitman.
Oh, interesting.
For the specific reason that...
I watched a few trailers on this. This looked fun.
So Andy and I both played this. Let me rewind for a minute. So this is Hotline Miami.
Yep.
Miami. But first person and a shooter, and you kick things. The better you do, you get to unlock new shoes, and if that makes you hard, play the fucking game. This is Crep Check, the video game. Just gonna throw that out there.
Now, I want to preface this with, you definitely got further than I did in the game.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is because the difficulty ramp up for me was exponential. And that's because after beating the first level, I saw that I was given an additional points multiplier
For only using your feet.
Only using my feet. So I only kicked. I never used a weapon.
That ties into the Hitman stuff I'm going to talk about.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead and finish.
Yeah. So I only made it like 3 or 4 levels through. I beat that last one. It took me like 15, 20 attempts to beat the like 3rd or 4th level. And I felt accomplished enough that I moved on to another game at that point. But I did really enjoy the time I spent in Angerfoot. Picking up energy drinks and suddenly going into like a hardcore rage mode was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The music was fun. The enemies were fun, but also on my first death, the weird
brute force,
the weird alligator henchmen that were fighting me started twerking on my body.
Yeah, they all do that.
Yeah.
So when you die,
Fantastic.
the enemy that kills you does like essentially a TikTok dance in your face for killing you. I've been twerked on multiple times. But essentially every level is usually less than a minute long. But the whole idea is that if you die, you very quickly just get sent back to the beginning of the level. So what the game reinforces is system mastery. You memorize a level so that you can most efficiently go through it to get the best time, to get a mission done without using a gun, to not miss a shot. Essentially, there's all these reward mechanisms which are based off mastering a level. That is very not much my jam. I do not enjoy that style of gameplay.
That's my style of gameplay.
The theme and the speed and the almost boomer shooter level of this game was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
I didn't realize till an hour and a half in that I unlocked 3 new set of shoes, one of them allowing me to like teleport jump. The other one refilled my ammo when I killed somebody by kicking them. It was fantastic. The best thing I feel is the kind of subdued humor in the game. You said you got to like level 3 or 4. I got to level 9 before I realized I had been playing it for 2 hours and I had 30 more demos to play.
You're right.
But level 5 was a cutscene where you're sitting at a table or you're sitting on a couch watching a TV and you're eating popcorn with your feet, because everything you do in this game was with your feet, and you have to click the popcorn, you feed it yourself. But you have a girlfriend next to you and she's a short stacked purple chick, and you can like cutesily pet her face with your feet.
Oh my
You can
gosh.
feed her popcorn. If you bring your foot over the popcorn, she just holds her mouth out. You feed her popcorn. You get a phone call that you answer, of course, with your foot. And it's the bad guys saying, "We stole Arthur." And your guy stands up angrily, runs into a back room, presses a button, a secret wall
How
opens.
is he accelerating that car?
with his
wiener.
With his wiener.
Okay.
But yeah, this wall opens and he's got all these shoes, and Arthur, because they're all named, is missing, right? So there's no real plot to the game. But like you said, you can there's opportunities to like drink energy drinks to go super fast. And one thing I really liked is the music of the game has like a backing track, 4 on the floor kind of beat with a little bit of bass. But when you start killing people, the whole music kicks in. It's very like Skrillex, you know, kind of drum and bass shit. But it dies out in like 5 seconds.
Which I love. I love in it. I love the tone that like that's set when you hear music in another room, and that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, they turn the treble way down when you're not fighting stuff, and it gets all
so it almost sounds like it's coming from elsewhere in the apartment building or something like that.
But yeah, this reminds me so much of Miami or Hotline Miami, and the way the game plays.
Yeah.
But the idea of mastering a level by playing it over and over again to get the best time is very much Hitman-esque. If you like Hotline Miami, if you like Hitman, if you like level mastery, this is definitely a game for you. The theme is just fucking on point. It felt, polished isn't even the right word to describe it. Like this game is almost minimalist in how they've taken a few themes of color and the music and the animations. And like you said, brought to you by the people who made Gorn and Broforce. If you play Broforce
genital jousting
and genital jousting, you know that they're fucking on theme.
Yeah.
Right. I loved what I did play of it, but like I said, I got to level 9. It was starting to get difficult, and I was like, I thought
of your brother immediately when watching this game. It was like, oh my god, this is like
I think Adam would really like
a fast-paced shooter.
He loved Hitman,
like with all the colors, and it's like I immediately thought of your brother. It's like I think he's going to get a kick out of this.
Yeah, you can kick enemies' grenades back at them. It's fantastic. So, Angerfoot, look it up. It's
definitely check that one out. It's got a lot of personality
that I like. Almost plead people just to try. Like it is fantastic. It might not be your full jam, but
it'll be half jam.
Half jam.
Yeah, half jam. Jelly.
At least jelly, yes.
It's Ja.
You got anything else, Andy?
No, that was our shared one. So go ahead with the rest.
I got a few more. I'll try to make them kind of quick. This is now the opposite of Angerfoot. This is Dungeon Keeper, but dwarves. So this is
Happy Fingers.
Yeah, this is Beneath the Mountain, an RTS set where you play as a clan of dwarves. Your goal is to dig down to the gem at the bottom of the cave system before the orcs get there.
It's fucking orcs,
and it is fucking hard. I played through the demo. I restarted 5 times before I had enough grasp on the game that I didn't immediately die to invading spiders and goblins.
Oh my.
But it's not often that an RTS style kind of mildly 4X game throws me for a loop, but it was very difficult. It's one of those games where your build order, your queue order, you need to have that shit on lock and think about optimizing what you're building first, what you're doing first. But it was really neat. One thing I really liked, you can kind of see it on screen here if you're watching, is that darkness is a very important mechanic in the game. Being able to build torchlight and seeing where you're going and what you're doing costs resources until you can upgrade enough that some of that stuff's free. But yeah, it's essentially an RTS, but it has a huge Dungeon Keeper vibe. It's clearly inspired by that for those older boomer generation millennials who play Dungeon Keeper and the like. Yeah, if you love dwarf games, if you love RTSs, if you're a fan of anything like Dungeon Keeper,
was fun.
Yeah, this is very much in that alley.
If Dwarf Fortress has too much of a learning curve for you, maybe try this.
This is about 7% of Dwarf Fortress.
Yeah.
So if you want to just get the feel of what it's like being a dwarf clan, trying to dig deep, make mistakes, fight off orc raids, you get to build traps. I had a bunch of spike traps, saw blade traps. I hired.
And you want the possibility of having fun at some point? Play this.
The possibility of having fun. Losing is fun in Dwarf Fortress, and this attempts to replicate that. The most efficient dwarven melee units I found were the Longbeards. So I appreciate that the length of your beard is important in this game.
Beard length matters.
One nice thing I saw is, like an RTS, you have units that gather resources, your workers, your gatherers, right? And being dwarves, you have mine carts. So once you have the resources and the tech, you can build a little minecart network where your resource drop-off points are essentially where you want to set them. I mean,
that's kind of cool.
Like, Age of Empires, you have lumber mills where you can set it next to the wood, but it was nice to be able to have a kind of organic system of developing where I want my people to drop off at.
Yeah.
Because again, like it's all about efficiency. This game is difficult in that you very rarely have time to make mistakes. You constantly have a clock down or a countdown before the next like orc or goblin attack happens. So if your workers are traveling too far to turn in the gold and ore and iron and mithril that they've gathered, you're eventually going to lose, and you don't know it until you've gotten that far into the game. So it's that kind of difficulty where I feel like with enough system mastery, enough practice, it could become not a difficult game.
Sure.
I don't know how the difficulty options work. Again, it was just a demo. But it looks like the levels are procedurally generated, so the caves are randomly generated. After maybe your first 20, 30 minutes of gameplay, you can unlock areas where you dig deeper. The goal is to get to the bottom. I got to the second level before I got overrun by orcs. Yeah, I didn't have enough defenses. I thought my traps would cover it, but there was just too many of those damn green orc boy bastards. So
Weird.
Boys.
I like
Boy.
that. I like that you can have like a resources on the mine tracks. It reminds me like of a Satisfactory, like ensuring that you're at the utmost.
yeah, it's something I haven't
efficiency.
really seen in an RTS before.
Yeah.
You always have buildings that can act as like gathering points, but
Yeah.
being able to have like a literal network was a really, really cool idea.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. There is a kind of a tech tree system. You have research points you gather. You can build buildings that make you gain research points faster, but that's an opportunity cost because you could have built a better barracks, or you could build a house to have more dwarves, you know.
Right.
So yeah, you have a king. You're a king under the mountain, and he has his own like skill tree if you want to upgrade him as opposed to your units. He's kind of like your hero unit. But yeah, it was dwarf games are fantastic, and I think they've done an awesome job of this one. And I might wait for reviews to see what the whole game's like, because I couldn't really tell how long a mission was supposed to go on for. You know, I played about an hour and a half, and I felt like I maybe got halfway to finishing. It was kind of hard to tell. So I don't know if there's going to be multiplayer. I don't know if there's going to be co-op.
Co-op would be cool.
Co-op would be really interesting. I don't know how it would work.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Me tearing down your shit, homie.
Exactly. It's on my radar. So that was fantastic. The final one was Dome Keeper that I wanted to talk about. And this is, I almost brought this up just because of my Flash Day histories. So for anybody who's been to Congregate or Armor Games or Flash Games or, you know, any of those old websites back in the 2000s.
E-bombs?
E-bombs world, there was a game called Motherload. You were a little robot, and you had to drill down in a side-scrolling game and collect resources and return to the surface and sell them to buy upgrades to be able to drill better. This is very similar. You play as a little astronaut that you drill down in this 2D side view world. Very minimalist HUD. It's, from what I've gathered, the levels they're not randomly generated. The map is kind of its own thing. But you go between these phases of trying to find resources and bringing them back to enemies attacking your dome. You have this kind of like biodome on the surface of this alien planet you're defending. And you have a very old school Atari-esque laser cannon that you move left and right across the dome to try to kill the enemies.
And you can fix your dome.
Yeah, you can fix your dome. There's lots of upgrades for both you, your jetpack, your dome, your weapons, and new abilities. You have really interesting mechanics for getting resources back. Like one of the ones I saw was an elevator shaft from the central dome, where there's a little droid that goes up and down the elevator shaft. And if you drop off any resources there, they kind of hover in place and it grabs them and brings them up for you. But there's also like a teleporter where you can carry the teleport like object with you. And then when you're ready, you can just teleport back to base. So it's kind of interesting. And I personally haven't played this, caveat, but I watched it, 3 different YouTubers play through it. There's just like one level in the demo, so I feel like I have a decent grasp of it. Again, nothing really new, but it's not a genre that's been touched on for a while. And what I did see of it, the ability to have stuff like teleporting and a mine shaft and things like that were a nice kind of what's it, the next evolution in this kind of genre, this 2D side-scrolling mining game.
And we get more fantastic pixel art.
Yeah, again, pixel art, and it's off the chart. They have a very solid, stark color palette they've chosen with yellows, purples, and oranges.
Yeah.
The enemies are all just pitch black kind of shapes. It kind of reminds me, what was that old Super Nintendo game where you played as like the kid that got sent to the weird alien universe?
Master Blaster.
No.
Dig Dug.
Kid to a weird alien universe.
Yeah, and like remember how Prince of Persia the first one was, where it's like if you fucked up a little thing, you
Oh
just die?
shit! Yeah, I know what game you're talking about.
The audience might know as well.
Yeah, the name of that game will
remastered it
not
recently
come to me.
But it was one of those games where like you get to a new screen and there was an enemy and like
it had a shitload of
kill you.
It had a shitload of death animations, and it was really kind of fucked
one
up.
way to get past it.
Yeah.
The enemies kind of remind me of that. But yeah, neat little game. I don't know the price off the top of my head. You might have it pulled up there.
I don't.
I can't imagine it's more than $10-15. But yeah, it was worth mentioning because again, it felt highly polished. The demo was clearly like a symptom, or not a symptom, an example of what the final game will look like. It's not a beta. And I bring that up mostly because I played 15, 20 other demos. I played 4X games that didn't have a tutorial. I played, 20 minutes of those before I was like, no. And I mentioned this earlier, but there was a wide rainbow of indie games I played over this demo period. And it really showed if you're going to provide a trailer and a demo for a game, if they don't gel together, you get a problem like you had with Teranil. It's not really a problem, but you didn't realize it was a puzzle game until you played it.
Now, if I had watched the trailer, I would have known.
You would have known.
Because it was a gameplay trailer, right? Yeah.
But I played a few games where...
Heart of Darkness.
Heart of Darkness, yes, was the name of that game. Thank you. The enemies very much remind me of Heart of Darkness.
Yes.
But yeah, I played a handful of games where it's like, this game seems like it could be really good, but what you're showing me in the demo is so like juxtaposed or like in media res out of the blue. I don't know where I'm starting. I don't know what you want me to do. It's a shame because I think there are some really good games out there that I would have talked about, but their demos were just bad.
Yeah.
And for those of you who've made games, if you happen to be listening to this podcast and I did not mention them, take a look at the demos that I've mentioned and see what you can learn from them.
Sure.
Because they had really good demos.
For sure. Now, I think that's pretty much the end of our demo talk. Another thing that happened this week is we got the Final Fantasy VII 25th anniversary.
Ooh.
So Fantasy 32.
Old man style.
It was live streamed, and I happened to watch the live stream.
That makes you better than us.
So unfortunately, the live stream that I found that was being watched by the most people was by IGN. But they didn't have subtitles, and unfortunately, all of it was in Japanese for all of it.
Good job, IGN.
Yeah, so I went to.
It's not like they had the opportunity to know that was going to happen, right?
Right. They really should have known.
They couldn't have known that.
Well, maybe they didn't know that it was going to all be in Japanese without subtitles because all we got was the English generated subtitles from YouTube. So I did have to go to the Square Enix channel, which had like 2,000 people in it.
Did it say rhythmic sloshing? Was that the subtitle?
No, but it did have English subtitles, thankfully. So I was able to watch it and understand the latter half of the announcements. A lot of merch announcements, unfortunately.
Sounds about right.
But along with that, we have a name and a little bit of a preview of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is going to be the next part in the Final Fantasy Remake trilogy. Now, it's kind of a quadrilogy because with Remake, you had Intergrade, which added another section of story featuring Yuffie. So what we'll do is we'll consider Remake and Intergrade one game. So every time I refer to Remake, I'm talking about the two of them.
Take notes, too.
Yes, it's complicated because it's Final Fantasy. So
they like it that way.
Final Fantasy VII Remake is now on Steam, so that was one of the big announcements.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so it launched the same day of the live stream. So Konohula in chat is making some memes here, like Final Fantasy VII Remake, Rebirth, Regenesis, Recore. We'll get to that because that's what they all sound like. But Rebirth is Final Fantasy VII Remake continued. So we're going to see the culmination of Final Fantasy VII Remake and Intergrade with a continuation in Rebirth. So that's exciting. I know, right? So it's It's more story. We're getting
That's sober enough
we're
for
getting
this.
we're getting more Final Fantasy VII Remake in the form of Rebirth. They also did announce that it is going to be a trilogy. So it's going to be 3 releases, much like the game was on 3 discs originally. So we have Remake with Intergrade, Rebirth, and an unannounced finale. Along with those announcements, we got a new game, kind of. So this is Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion.
Oh.
What?
Oh.
Yeah, so if anybody ever played the Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core on the PSP, this
What was the full title? Crisis Core.
Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion.
Okay.
Yes.
Too many tag words.
Yeah, it's Final Fantasy VII. It's got to be too many. So it is a graphics update to Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, which launched on the PS3 or the PSP years ago. And it is a nice chance to be able to play a game that was PSP exclusive now on the mobile platform. So it's actually going to be a mobile game. They didn't talk about any kind of store, shop, or microtransactions. They weren't mentioned at all, so we don't know if those are coming. But it is going to be on the mobile platform, whether it be iOS or Android.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean it's another way to you can play the game if you never got a chance to play it on the PSP or if you never owned a PSP.
I've decided to call it Problem Center Final Fantasy VII Family Get Together.
That's probably TBD right now, or TBA rather. Along with Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, we have Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis.
No, you don't.
We sure do.
No way.
That's
Welcome to
another
So,
possibility for a remake.
That's exactly what it says in the intro, is another possibility for a remake. So it looks like it's going to be going over some of Zack's storyline, but what it was being described as in the show was it was going to be a faithful recreation of Final Fantasy VII for mobile.
I was just gonna say, I mean the graphics do give me nostalgia though.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very original,
Yes.
PlayStation-esque, but
So
smooth.
yeah, I mean all that's been done here. We still have kind of the chibi cloud, same point of view, same environments, but all redone, remastered for today's modern mobile phones. Even to the point where you get where you get into the overworld, it's the little chibi cloud that you're controlling, but during combat they look like they're full-fledged,
Realistic.
PS4, PS5 variants. It's really cool as far as I can
Shiva
tell.
just sniff her fingers.
Goddamn right.
Dude, that was that was a total 1-to-1 recreation of the original summon.
Yeah.
So I checked it out versus the old
I
one.
mean, she didn't have fingers in the original because they were just.
Well, yes, that's true. That's true. But it was a faithful recreation
What do
of
you
the
think
Shiva
they smelled
summon.
like?
Ice,
Yeah.
freezer burn.
Yeah, freezer burn. But it looks like not only is it going to be Final Fantasy VII, but it looks like it's going to give you more
Ice
of the
cream.
story that came from Crisis Core in showing like Zack's storyline. Because there is a lot more Zack being shown in this trailer than was ever in the original Final Fantasy VII.
If there was ever a game like the movie Primer, it's Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, a little bit. Then we have
No,
you don't.
No.
Don't
Yeah,
do
we're
it,
not
Andy.
done.
No, Andy.
then we have
I don't
No.
believe you.
Final Fantasy VII, the first soldier.
Holy
Now,
crap.
the first soldier actually came out last year for mobile. It is a mobile BR.
So is this the second soldier?
Now, they just announced the season 3, and they're doing North American tournaments. It's actually a relatively popular BR. I did play during early access, and it was fun enough. I don't particularly care for mobile games for a BR on mobile games.
Sure.
Or on mobile platforms, so it wasn't quite my jam, but it played solidly. And there was a good
So
variety
many
of
goddamn
weapons.
buttons on that for a mobile game.
it's
That's
ridiculous.
the problem Apex Mobile has.
Yes.
I've got 2 thumbs. You got 97 buttons on the screen. What the
Yes.
fuck do you want me to do?
Clearly, the people that are playing this in the gameplay trailer are using controllers because otherwise they couldn't do this shit.
Yeah, they're using fucking BlueStacks.
100%. So it's definitely going to be a BlueStacks kind of game. I thought it was pretty neat. The graphics were really good for a mobile game.
Fucking A.
Nothing that we haven't seen before, but it definitely shows the Square Enix polish. So if you're into mobile BRs, give Final Fantasy VII the first soldier. So, recap. We have Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, to be announced Final Fantasy continuation of the remake
Afterbirth.
Rebirth. Yeah, that's Nick and I made jokes about that when we talked about
placenta?
this initially, where hopefully the last one is not called Afterbirth. After that, we've got Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII Reunion, Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier, Season 3.
Ouch.
That's 7 games. Final Fantasy VII.
Oh my
It's
God.
7 things.
But it was the 25th anniversary. Where are my
32.
Yeah, boo.
Boo. Okay.
So that is the recap of the Final Fantasy VII 25th anniversary live stream and all of their announcements.
Damn.
Thank you for recapping that, because I'm sure the live stream was 4 hours long.
No, the live stream was only about 15 minutes.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so they announced all of this stuff in about 15 minutes, and about 8 of those minutes was merch announcements. So
It was
I
all
thought
in
it was
Japanese.
them
You
announcing
got
the
the
names. 8 of the minutes was the name
It
announcement.
took 8 minutes, to say Rebirth Reunion.
Final Fantasy VII Crisis Averted Rebirth Evercore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A few other small news articles. Stray, the cat game that we talked about during the PlayStation
The State of
Expo
Play.
State of Play. It's available on Steam. It is releasing next month on the 19th, July 19th, 2022. So if you want to be a cat and
I do.
I also do.
Be in what looks like post-apocalyptic Japanese robot future, you can play it on the PIC PC.
Let's do it.
Yes. I want to put that out there. Valve has finally updated Team Fortress 2.
What?
You either know about this or you don't. If you don't, it's not news. If you do, you already know. So pointless article. But Team Fortress 2 is a class-based, group-based kind of multiplayer shooter that they put out, 15 years ago? And it was a really big game, and everybody loved it. A lot of people played it, and then they just kind of died as far as updates go. There's still 80,000 concurrent players even today playing TF2. It is a PC classic, and the fans have been clamoring for an update for so long, mostly because the game is absolutely chock full, riddled with bots and cheaters, and it has become nigh impossible to play the game on any kind of public server. Valve finally announced on Twitter, I think a few months ago, that they were going to look into it. They had this whole hashtag Save TF2 campaign. Everybody was clamoring for updates, and they got one. It was a bit milquetoast. They fixed some exploits which allowed bots to be kicked easier, for a lot of bot exploits to not be able to happen anymore that accidentally kick players. And it seems like if they continue to release updates of this matter, the game will actually might return to some kind of semblance of normalcy.
Some normalcy.
That is if they keep updating it. I read a handful of Reddit threads about it. Some people are really excited, happy what happened. Others this is a fucking, drop in the bucket to what we actually need.
I mean, but it could be the first one. So
It could be a start.
If there could be, if there's another one in a reasonable amount of time, then that's a good sign. If that's the only one for another 8-9 months, then
Yeah, it might have just been,
15 years.
another 15 years. We will see. But we've been waiting. My brother played this game a lot. It's been really 10 years since a major update, and this was mostly an exploit and bug fix. Other than that, I had another game I wanted to talk about, but their gameplay trailer had no gameplay in it. So fuck you, Hyena. We'll talk about you when you show me what your game looks like.
Word. Yeah. Does anybody have anything else for this week's Video Game Tango?
No.
Thank you all for answering at once. All right, excellent. So, we went over some demos, some games we're looking forward to. Final Fantasy VII, everything. Remember,
Don't give Blizzard
all the
your
things.
money.
Remember, I'm going to have links to all the trailers, gameplay, Steam, wherever you can find these games up on the blog at videogametango.com. Make sure you check out videogametango.com because you can find everything that we do, whether you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Overcast, Castro, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Castbox, Podchaser, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, or just
Reborn
subscribe to our
Reunion
regular
Rebirths.
RSS feed. Check us out on YouTube. Make sure you follow us on Twitch. Subscribe on YouTube. We're fucking everywhere.
We're in all the places.
I'm going to tell you right now, we're still small time enough. It's important that we do this, but if you were to perhaps leave us a voicemail like you can do on our website, there's a 90% chance I'll do whatever you want. So
Wait,
go to our website.
Leave voicemails on our website?
Yeah,
You sure
we
can.
can get fucking voicemails.
Wait a minute.
Give us a call.
Will someone please leave me a voicemail? I don't care what you say to me. I would like to hear it.
You can speak in Farsi,
Sure.
Tagalog. I don't care. Well, I'll translate. I'll figure
Bleep
it
bloops.
out. Yeah, bleep bloops. If you want to speak in binary and tell
Let's
me,
go.
Whatever.
Make rhythmic sloshing noises.
Exactly.
Wait, do we get to know who they come from, or are they anonymous?
It's up to them.
You could send me anonymous voicemails. Let's go.
Yeah.
We're that desperate.
Well, no, I'm not saying I'm desperate. Nobody leaves voicemails anymore. I didn't even know you could do that on the internet. Let's do it.
Yeah, no, you can totally leave us voicemails. VideoGameTango.com. On the homepage, it shows you, well, not even everywhere. It shows you most of the podcast platforms we can be found on. You can see our latest YouTube submission up there. You can go to episodes. You can see the full episode listings. You can go to videos. You can see all the video listings.
There's a live stream of my bathroom.
There is on live. If you check out the blog, we talk about the Indie Games Uprising, which was the last episode. I've got links to all the trailers that we watched. I've got links to the Steam pages or the Epic Game Store pages. I got links to Your Mom, The Bomb,
And
E-Bomb.
Wait a minute. I thought
Motherfucking
I thought the bathroom cam was in my bathroom this week.
you weren't there when I knocked.
It's just going to show me up.
Yeah.
I've averaged like 3 viewers for a month. The moment you get a cam in your bathroom, we're going to get 900 in a fucking minute.
Yeah, and then it'll drop down to 4 when we go live for Video Game Tango. Thank you guys so much for watching. Everybody that's watching live, stick around because we're going to be doing the Balcony Time podcast right after this. Well, we're going to take a short break, but we'll be doing the Balcony Time podcast right after the short break. For everybody else, make sure you check out Balcony Time podcast on YouTube. Any of the resources that I just talked about, videogametango.com. That comes out every Monday. The Video Game Tango podcast comes out every Friday. And we go live with both on twitch.tv/videogametango on Wednesdays around 8 p.m.-ish. Pacific time.
It's the only way you can prove your love for us.
Yeah. I want to shout out our number one, our ride or die, Kona Hula 10, for gifting 4 subs in chat today. Thank you so much, Kona. We appreciate you, dude. And with that, I think we're done with this week's episode of Video Game Tango.
Bye.